Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to have you guys all on today to go over one of my absolute favorite subjects, and that is getting published as a photographer. Now, this is celebrity fashion photographer Kevin Michael Schmitz here, and I have had an amazing career photographing for over 250 magazine editorials myself. I also shoot major ad campaigns for Burberry, for Giorgio Armani, and I've been shooting both in commercial advertising as well as editorial fashion my entire career. Now, I wanted to go in depth today about how you guys can get published, the process that it takes, how to get there, what makes that epic editorial story really just make impact and grace the pages of magazines as well as covers of magazines, and how to be able to achieve even shooting celebrities and taking it to the next level. So I also have some amazing panelists today that I'm really excited to introduce to you guys. And I didn't even mention that actually in my emails, but I am super excited for some of the amazing panelists. And I really look forward to bringing on some major heavy hitters today that I want you guys to meet. So now today, I also want you guys to be heavily involved with asking lots of questions. And, if you guys are on track to want to get published as a fashion photographer or editorial photographer in some way, if you have questions about how to achieve that, and you're going down that pathway, I would absolutely love to take your questions and to let me know about that process. Now, I am bringing on this unbelievable and incredible person today to begin with, and I'm going to go in depth after he departs. But I am really excited that I do get to bring on a world top agent that represents photographers, specifically editorial, fashion, and celebrity photographers. His name is George Perez. He owns George Perez Reps. And just so you guys know, to become represented by an agent, it is like one of the most difficult things you could possibly do in your entire career is to be represented by an agent. And let me just give you context of this. Essentially, it is agents only represent about 1/100,000th of 1% of photographers. So they rep only the best of the best, the creme de la creme. And it is harder to become represented by a photographic agent than it is to become like an NFL player, a professional athlete. So to become a represented photographer, it's a really big deal. And there really aren't that many agents in the United States and throughout the world. So I'm really grateful to have an amazing agent join us who is not only an agent that represents photographers, but he's based in Hollywood. He reps the photographers that grace the pages of Vogue and Vanity Fair and Harper's Bazaar. And he is regularly working with major editorials and booking his photographers on it. So there he is, the great George Perez. And George, just to kind of give you guys context, George actually once represented me as my agent. And we've stayed friends all these years. George is an absolutely incredible human being, and he has helped his photographers achieve absolute greatness. So welcome, George. I'd love for you to maybe introduce yourself a bit and then talk a little bit about what it takes to get published as a photographer in this day and age.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kevin. So great to be with you today. Yeah, Kevin was my client until he got too big for me. And then he didn't want to do it anymore. No, but we stay really good friends. And the way that I work with Kevin, and I like to work this way also with all different types of photographers, is that, I work now, it's more of a freelance situation. So I have relationships with brands, and they tell me I'm looking for this aesthetic, this type of shooter in this region, and then I go and partner them up with the right artist. But before I go into that, I'll tell you a little bit about my story. So I've been in Los Angeles now for the past 20 years. I started my own agency about 13 years ago at JP Reps. And like Kevin said, my bread and butter has been a lot of celebrity endorsement shoots. I've worked with, whether it is Brad Pitt, Jennifer Aniston, Jennifer Lopez, Ricky Martin, all these celebrities and endorsement deals. For when a brand like Nescafe or Toyota want a celebrity, I have a great roster of celebrity photographers that these celebrities feel really comfortable with. So they'll go, hey, they'll tell the brand, this is the guy that I want. And then the brand calls me and then we do it. So yeah, that's a little bit of my website now. And as Kevin is serving us Vanna White, showing you guys my stuff. So yeah, so it's been, obviously editorial is, guys, I'm gonna be really blunt with you. It's such a beast, right? Because you got to think about it this way, and it's good for you guys to have like general knowledge about just the photography industry and how it's changed. We're at a time where there's so much content, right? Before, when Kevin and I started, it was only like magazines and billboards, and you buy usage for point of sale and whatnot. But nowadays, like, there's so many different media outlets. You have experiential marketing. The buyouts are shorter. There's just a lot. There's too many products in a way, and not enough eyeballs, if that makes sense. So one industry that has gone a big hit has been the editorial industry, right? Because people are not consuming magazines the way that they used to. They're watching magazines online. They're still buying some, but we used to have this running joke at an agency, like, when you do editorial, you're not doing it for money, because this is almost like, as a photographer, when you're in an editorial piece, it's almost like you're advertising. This is where, like, you shoot a great fashion story for Vogue or Vanity Fair or GQ. Now your eyes are getting exposed to the photo editors. They'll be like, hey, I love what Kevin did in this story, and let's say that photo editor then goes and works in an ad agency. So now they are representing Toyota, and they're like, oh, who can do that really well? Kevin. And they knew Kevin through a story that they saw in GQ. So I do think, and by the way, editorial is still very much alive and exists. But what you have to remember is that now more than ever, as a photographer, you're gonna incur the cost of that editorial project. So I always suggest and tell photographers to really make it worth their while. Obviously, you want the production to look amazing, but be smart with your money. Be smart with your money, because you're gonna be pretty much subsidizing all these editorial stories and placements. It's not going to be the hair or the makeup person or the stylist or the talent. You, as the photographer, as you're going to have to be subsidizing the cost of the shoot. I think definitely, if you want to be published, if you want to know who the photo editor of Vanity Fair, GQ, you definitely have to go out and have those magazines in your house. Go to the masthead and see who the photo editor is, and or the assistant photo editor. And those are the people that you guys need to find their emails and let them know about your work. I do think it's super important to be proactive, to reach out to these people and really let them know who you are. I always advise for photographers that are reaching out to photo editors, to be really mindful. Put yourself in their shoes. Know that they're always really busy. So maybe just like keep it short. Less is more. One short paragraph, a couple of pictures of what you do. If you already have a story, for example, if you're reaching out to like a Flaunt magazine or a GQ or Vanity Fair, and you have a story already made, I would say, hey, I just finished shooting this great story. If you're open to publishing it, it's already done. And, make sure you include the credits as much as you can without too much, just kind of who the model is, who hair makeup is, what brands were shown. I do think that it's a double-edged sword, because there's a lot of content out there. So content does seem to be now more than ever more disposable. But I do believe that magazines are always looking for great content. So maybe you won't be published on the actual physical magazine, but you'll be published online, which is freaking great, because right now, like I said, everything is disposable, and you just want to be published. And whether Flaunt magazine published you online or in print, it's still a really great get, because now you can say you've been published in magazine, in Flaunt magazine. You can say that you've been printed in Vanity Fair or GQ or whatever those things are. So I think there's a combination of things that I would, if someone were to ask me, how do I get published? There's three different things. First, find out who the key players are. By that, go by your Vanity Fair and your Flaunts and your GQs and all that, so then you can know who the photo editor is. I don't know if you guys know about Agency Access. Agency Access is a program that's great that you can see who is the photo editors of certain magazines and the producers, the in-house photo producers of ad agencies. Sometimes they're called either photo editors or in-house producers. Those are the people that you
Here you
want
go.
to.
So George, like this is George is talking about agency access. This is agency access, and like I just looked up French Vogue, and these would be the people there. So this would be like the fashion editor would be Jade Simon, the managing editor Eugenie Trochu. These would be people that you probably want to get in touch with.
Yeah, yeah. And again, you got to keep in mind, those are people that are heavily, reached out by a lot of photographers, right? And photo agents as well. So listen, guys, it's a numbers game. Don't get discouraged. Just every day, just do a little, do what you can. Mix that action with mindset. And that's what I'm going to get into in a second. So find out, what magazines you want to be in, what kind of stuff you want to do, and who the contacts are, and then use that mindfulness and tactfulness, if you will, to be passionate, but not be too aggressive as far as how often you reach out to this person and all that good stuff. So it's a nice balance. The other thing that I'm really big on, especially now more than ever, is Kevin, I haven't talked to you that much, but I wrote a book, and it's been a #1 bestseller on Amazon, and it's called The Shut the Fuck Up Method.
Yes.
Silence your way to the life of your dreams. And it's a very provocative title, but it actually, this book is actually a Trojan horse on how we can really work on mindset, because it's so easy. Again, I'm trying to watch my own words here, but one tends to be more negative in how things work, right? Like, for example, if you're a photographer and you think that it's so hard to get published, and people are like, "Hey, how's it going in your photo business?" "Oh, it's not going well," or I'm not just even saying to be positive. We just have to be mindful and not state and declare things the way that we don't want them to be. For example, if you're having a hard time getting published, right? And people are like, "How's it going with the publishing thing?" You know what? It's going. And they're like, "Oh, what do you mean by that?" "Yeah, every day I'm reaching out to people and I'm putting it out there and it's sorting itself out." "Oh, so it's going bad?" "No, I'm not saying it's going bad. It's just it's taking its time, it's doing its thing, but I'm really hopeful and I'm really excited. And I just met a new hair and makeup person, a stylist." You guys, it is so important how you need to manage your words and the conversations that you have about your life and how about things are going, because the whole world will say, "Oh my God, it's so hard to be a photographer now and this and this." But you know what? Bullshit. Someone's making money. Someone's making money out there. And the difference is whoever's making money has a different mindset. So as much as I'm big on send emails, find out who the doorkeepers are, find out the publications, that's all great. But mindset is everything. We are 99.99999% energy and 0.000001 matter. That means that energy is running the show. So again, I'm not saying like people are like, "Hey, how's your photo stuff going?" You're like, "It's going great, man. It's going amazing." And that's not true either. You got to have integrity. So it might not be going that great. So don't say that it's going great, but you don't have to call up all your friends and tell them how bad it's going either. You see what I'm saying? You got to leave room for that possibility conversation to get in there. And then you tunnel vision on what's going great. And before you know it, like you're going to be noticing how great is going everywhere in your life, both in your personal and in your professional. It's all about how can we be mindful about what we say and inject gratitude into our lives. In my book, I go deep into a gratitude practice. I don't care who you are. Anybody that's all 40 of you that are watching this right now, I don't care who you are. Millions of people would love to be in your shoes, period. So we have to own that, and we have to wake up every morning knowing that. And you know what? Every morning I grab my journal, which is right next to my bed, and I created the GAF, which stands for gratitude, affirmation, and visualization. Every day I write 3 things that I'm grateful for: the bed that I'm sleeping in, the roof over my head, the fact that I can breathe without any pain. Boom. 3 things that I want to affirm about myself: I'm blessed, I am healthy, I am compassionate. And then 3 things that I'm working on visualizing, whether it is like a vacation that I'm planning, I see myself in it. Whether it is a big photo job that I want to be in, I see myself on set. In my book, I take a deep dive on doing this, by the way. Like, really see yourself on set. Like, hear that creative director saying, dude, 2 more frames because it looks so good. You got it. See that celebrity not having a panic attack because there's more than green M&Ms in her green room. Like, really put yourself, like, start using like all the senses to really see yourself in those situations. Yeah, there's some good stories there that I could tell you, but I'm not going to, because I'm gonna practice my own book and shut the F up. But the point is that it is great to make the action, to create the action, to do the reach out, to have the creativity on the stories that you want to make. But the mindset factor is just so incredibly important, guys, because that is what's going to attract the right people into your life. And whatever you say about how things are going, if you're going around saying that it's hard and the recession and there's no magazines and this, then it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. I could keep preaching the sermon, but like, Kevin, do you have any questions? What do you think about what I'm
we
saying?
had some questions from the audience here that I wanted to ask. So I asked from Daniel Hagee asks, what or where is the best way to submit your work? Are PDFs still the best way?
See, so that's, again, it's very subjective. It's case by case by case. Oh, and Juan Herrera, the name of the book is The Shut the Fuck Up Method, and it's on Amazon, just in case. I just saw that. So it's very subjective, because I work with some colleagues of mine that are photo editors, and are like, again, I'm going to say it one more time. Less is more. If you're going to write me a little paragraph about who you are, just keep it simple. Be like, hey, my name is Kevin. I'm a photographer. I love doing fashion. Been doing it now for a few years. I love your magazine. Here's a sample of my work. I already have some editorials. Let them know that there's some editorials that I already have some editorial made in case you're looking for content. And here's a sample of my work. And yes, I would go in for a little PDF. Less is more. You guys, I know how photographers are. They're like my children. It's always like, oh, you want to show all these incredible bodies of work, of pictures. No, keep it simple. Keep it to, like, your core 5-6 images. If you look at it, an editorial story is usually 5 to 6 images, right? Just show 5 to 6 images, and that's it. Keep it simple.
Excellent. So that's good. So, and do you recommend like sharing like a PDF of those images?
Yeah, absolutely. Show up a PDF and attach it to the thing. Some photo editors get annoyed by attachments, but it's okay. Just, I think that it's a necessary thing, that just don't send like huge attachments, right? Like I said, guys, it's all about putting ourselves in other people's shoes when it comes to doing all this stuff. So I would just be mindful that, just know in the back of your head, know in the front of your mind, in the back of your mind, that whoever's reading this has a busy life. So put yourself in their shoes. Like, you're scrolling, you're getting back to people on emails that your inbox is already full, and all of a sudden you're getting an incoming inbox from somebody that's soliciting, hey, I want to shoot for your magazine. Keep it simple, keep it short.
Totally. That's good advice. So you've represented some incredible celebrity fashion photographers that have shot for Vogue and Vanity Fair and Harper's Bazaar and everything in between, Flaunt. Can you tell us a little bit about the process of shooting, getting photographers hired on those major A-list shoots for Vogue and Vanity Fair and Harper's Bazaar?
Yes. And here's what I said about that. Relationships in this business is everything. You never know who you're going to meet through that makeup artist, through that hairstylist, through the talent. You know what I mean? And if you're you can be an amazing photographer, but this is a business where you gotta be a people person. I don't care. Like, you could technically be so incredible, but nowadays, especially, like, the competition is pretty fierce. So not only do you have to be artistically and a badass, but you gotta be someone that people want to hang out with on set. You got to have a personality. The biggest photographers now are the ones that, it's almost like a party, man. I remember, like, photographers, like, you gotta be like schmoozing with the client, schmoozing with the hair, schmoozing with the talent. It's almost like it's your party and you're hosting it. You know, so there's no rule of thumb. Obviously, as you are good at what you do, you're gonna extend your network. Go, I don't know, if you're in the markets, if you're in New York, LA, or Miami, obviously there's more brand action going in there, but relationships can come from anywhere. Obviously, listen, you can have a program like an agency access and reach out to photo editors and photo producers and whatnot. But in addition to that, you have to be out there. You have to be out there and meet people and connect with people and be that kind of artist that they ask you to shoot the chair, but all of a sudden when they get the hard drive, you shut the chair, you shut the stool, you shut the table, you over deliver. So then you become that guy that they remember as like, hey, you know what, Kevin's always good at over delivering, because it is a time where, again, watching what I say, right? Because I wrote a book about shutting up. It's technology has enabled us, meaning actually you guys, I'll call them you guys, to, you don't have to be Mario Testino to have an image to look like it's a Mario Testino image, right? Can we agree that the type of lighting and AI and equipment has gotten so good that it's opened up the marketplace for so many photographers to not have to be like that incredible, and they can still produce really good art. So keeping that in mind, again, not as a bad thing, but start thinking like, okay, so I gotta up my game in all areas, not just like in how beautiful my art looks, but also in how accommodating I have to be with clients. So that's what it is, man. We if you want to be a working photographer, you just got to keep an A game in all aspects, and team building and teamwork and how good your art looks, how tight you are in delivering on time. And you do this, you keep it simple, but really deliver an A game, and people are gonna love you. They're gonna recommend you, and they're always gonna think of you when projects come up.
Now, what's the best strategy, George, for connecting with celebrities specifically? Because I know that a lot of your guys shoot celebrities. How did they break into the door? Because I know a lot of the photographers that are on right now would love to shoot these major A-list.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. That's a great question. So obviously, to break into the celebrity world, the easiest route is if you live in the market where there are the celebrities, right? So let's use New York and LA as an example, right? In New York and LA, in New York mainly the models, and LA mainly the celebrities, right? So who lives there? The publicists and the agents, right? So let's say you get this program. It's called whorepresents.com. Okay, it's funny because when you get it, it kind of reads like "whore presents," but it's "who represents.com." so you got and it's always like the WHO is like a different color, and then the represents the other color. So get this. You can get this service. I think it's like $10 a month or whatever, and then you can see like who reps Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt will have some agent, and that agent also reps a bunch of less known actors. So you could get their emails are there. You could reach out to those publicists and say, hey, this is me. I'm including a sample of my work. And if you ever need a spec shoot, that's the word they use, spec, I would love to help you out. So that way, so they have a new celebrity that's not very well known. They'll reach out to you and be like, hey, can you shoot my new client celebrity on spec? Meaning, so for trade. And trust me, I've had some really good results. That there's this guy Stephen Buskin that I rep, and I remember when Margot Robbie. I don't know if you guys know her. She's the girl from the star of Barbie. Margot had just moved to LA, and she didn't have any pictures. And Stephen shot these spec shoots on Margot, and literally she looks the same. It was like 8 years ago, and she looks exactly the same. So Stephen has sold those pictures over and over again, because magazines buy them, because it was a beautiful shoot of Margot and she looked really, really clean and youthful and literally looks the same. So that is, in my opinion, the quickest way to start your relationship with publicists, you need to reach out to them and introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm open to shooting your celebrities. And then that's what happens. And you scratch their back. See, that's the Margot Robbie picture right there. She looks the same. So as you start working with them more, then then the publicist, then when they have money jobs, and they'll call you up and be like, hey, can you do this? And then, like I said, it's all a relationship based business. So you start building those relationships, and then you help them out, and then they'll help you out.
Excellent. Now, on these spec shoots, can you talk about that to this group of photographers? You're talking about shooting them on spec. Does the photographer in this case, George, need to spend the money on producing the shoot as well, or will they cover the production on this?
Great question. Normally, the photographer covers everything, but that's where I really encourage you guys to here's the thing. I get it. You're a visual artist. You want to literally go. You think you're Annie Leibovitz for Vanity Fair, right? Bring in the helicopter. No, make it simple for you guys. Try to get a free location. A lot of times I would ask the publicist, do you have a location that I can shoot for free? Most of the times they do, because they have relationships too. So let's say the publicist takes care of the location, or maybe even the actor has a house that you guys can put up a white seamless and do some beautiful beauty shots. So there are ways that you can offset the cost of your production, and that's what I would do. I mean, listen, unless it's like a Margot Robbie now, or someone that's like a big star. If it's somebody that's relatively unknown, just be smart about where you spend your money. Usually a publicist in this case would provide the hair and makeup for free. So you're the one that's carrying the hard cost, which is your equipment and your equipment, right? Your equipment, your lighting, and the production at times. So what I would do is I would try to find a way where you can either get a free location, or maybe you can set up your own house where there's a spot where you can shoot and it's decent, and you can make it work. So yeah, but normally the photographer is the one that covers that cost.
Got it. Now, when you're reaching out to these publicists and agents that represent these celebrities, and you're pitching them on a spec shoot, what are the uses that the agent, why would the agent say, yeah, I want you to work with me on this? What would be the purpose and the usage of these images?
So, okay. I mean, why the publicist wants these images?
Well, why, if you're just say an unknown photographer, and you're reaching out to these agents and publicists, and you're reaching out to Brad Pitt's agent, and you're pitching them on why the shoot that you would like to do, or that you are offering the services, why would they say yes to you?
I mean, they have to say yes because they need art to promote their celebrities.
Got it.
So they constantly need for their celebrities to be shot, because they're using those pictures to pitch them to a Cosmo or a GQ or you know what I mean? And a lot of times Cosmo will see those pictures and be like, okay, we want to shoot this girl. She's pretty. She photographs well. She's got ABC projects coming out. But a lot of times they'll just buy those images too. So you could recuperate that money back. If it's like a Cosmo Germany, that they'll be like, okay, we'll just buy the images of the celebrity. So again, not that I wouldn't count on making your money back, but it does at times, you never know who's going to buy those images. So when you shoot a celebrity on spec, as the photographer, you own the rights to those images. So if the next day, Colgate wants to use those images, they got to pay you out for that usage. So that's a cool thing about you shooting on spec, that you retain the rights to the images. So if you want to give them away to a magazine for free, it's your call. And if you want to charge them for it, it's your call. Of course, I personally wouldn't, if a big publicist has you shoot Margot Robbie, and then they want to use the images for an editorial and they don't have a budget, I wouldn't really put my foot down and be like, no, I want to get paid, because then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, right? But definitely if it's some sort of brand, I would definitely try to get some financial compensation for it if they're trying to use the image.
Okay. Now I want to switch gears a little bit. And I know, I know a lot of publicists personally, and the dirty little secret that they always talk about is that oftentimes a lot of celebrities and up and coming celebrities will pay magazines to publish and feature them on the cover of the magazine or in the editorial. Can you talk a little bit about that as far as like them paying to get featured?
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a newer phenomenon because like I said, all the changes. I mean, magazines are kind of bleeding for cash, so that is also a new thing, but it doesn't matter because I mean, whether the celebrity's paying for it or the magazine's paying for it, it doesn't really mean anything to the photographer, right? You guys are not paying for it, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, you know, sometimes a celebrity has the deals that they make with a magazine, but even so, you never know who's going to pick the photographer. That it could be the magazine, even if the celebrity pays for it, the magazine could then be like, okay, but we're using Kevin to shoot it, or maybe sometimes the celebrity's like, well, since I'm paying for it, I'm choosing my photographer. So it could work either way.
Yeah, totally. Because I mean, yeah, my friends who are publicists often talk about this, how they, a lot of the big name celebrities that we know now, a lot of them became very big because they were paying to be in the covers of major magazines early on in their career, and it kind of added a lot of hype, and that's happening quite a bit now. Because just like George says, there's a lot of obviously the editorial publication industry is weak, and they're trying to just get compensated any way they can. Okay, so now these photographers that are on, I think that, you know, they're all absolutely loving all this information because everything you're talking about is just absolute gold, George. Do you have any suggestions and guidance of the kind of steps that they need to take to start reaching out to these people and to start, you know, basically building these relationships and getting themselves these opportunities?
Listen, if you're in New York or if you're in LA or in Miami or the market where these publicists live, then, you know, not only would I offer my services, but I would go outside of the box to like, hey, would you ever be open to grabbing a coffee? Or if you're local, but if you're not local, obviously, if you're not in these cities where these publicists live, it's a little harder. I definitely think that, you know, being a working photographer in celebrity or fashion, it's almost, I once heard this podcast with an actress. It's kind of the same reasoning, right? Like if you're an actor and you're trying to work as an actor in Hollywood, you have to move to Hollywood. If you're trying to work as an actor in Broadway, you have to move to New York. You just can't do it from Arkansas. It just doesn't work that way. So obviously, I think that if you want to work with celebrities, the first thing you have to do is you have to move to where they live, because that way you can run into these people, and those serendipitous moments will find you, where like you connected with a makeup person and her friend is a publicist, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you should meet my friend that hires photographers. But you have to locally be here. You could only send so many emails and so many PDFs. The emails and PDFs are good to enhance those rendezvousing connections, but you have to live. It's almost like if you want to be if you want to be a working actor, you can't do it from Arkansas. When you're starting out, you have to move to Hollywood. So then you have to run into and meet those casting directors and producers. If not, then you can have a great career in Arkansas in like your local theater group, but you're not going to achieve the success that you want to achieve. And especially, you're not going to be shooting celebrities when you're not in the same town. And not just reaching out to the celebrities, but you need to have access to the representatives. And the other thing, again, mindset. Sorry, I'm that guy, the shut the fuck up method. You need to rewire how you are talking about your life, how you're talking about the situations, and that'll be a snowball effect. And in the book, I give you all the hacks, and I give you situational circumstances, whether it's your boss or a financier or the guy that's going to hire you. What is the mindset that you have? What is your belief system about the photo business? Is it hard? Is it I'm not lucky enough? Like you gotta start undoing all that narrative that we very innocently have about how our life is, and the proof is in the pudding, right? Like show me your life, and I'll show you what your belief system is. Nothing wrong, because I think we all need like the hero's journey. We all need, listen, I don't care who you are. You could be a billionaire, you could be Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos needed to have gone through not having money to know what it's like. You need to know both polarities so you can be an expert about, I know what it's like to have money and I know what it's like not to have money. But get out of there fast. I mean, if you've had your experience of, if you're building your career, it's nice to know where you're at, but know where you're at as a platform for your next level, not know where you're at like, hey, how's it going? So hard out here. And you know what I mean?
Definitely. No, that's really good advice. And I really appreciate that, George. I mean, I think that a lot of photographers, when we coach them, and because I have a whole team of epic, incredible photographic coaches that coach photographers to get unprecedented success. I have photographers that start out where they're shooting $200 headshots. And then, over time, after, taking and getting involved with our mind-blowing photographic workshops where we shoot with top supermodels that have been in Vogue and Vanity Fair and Harper's Bazaar, they go from literally like, the bottom of the barrel living in South Carolina, but after taking a couple of our epic workshops in LA and New York, are shooting for Dolce & Gabbana, shooting for Vogue, Vanity Fair, Harper's Bazaar, Cosmopolitan. And this is what I get really excited about. But it does take, what George is saying is you are going to need to shoot at a really high level. You need to provide absolute world-class quality. And also, it's important to be in those locations. And this is one of the things, and this is one of the reasons that we actually direct these epic workshops in Los Angeles and New York and Miami, is because we're in the most epic locations. We're going to the places. And that's why I have a lot of photographers that might come from a place like Arkansas or Idaho or Ohio or something like that. And maybe they don't have access to top supermodels there, but they're flying in to come to New York and actually have that opportunity to shoot with top models. Also, George has been with me on many of our epic photographic workshops that we've done over the years. And he's been there as a part of it, which is really, really special. And he's been able to see the unbelievable success that our photographers have been able to create. So it's really, really special. But also, one of the things that I always recommend, and George brought this up, is like, if you want to meet publicists and you want to meet these important people, go to those cities. And, and you don't necessarily have to move there just yet, but I think it's important to at least go there. And this is what we recommend for anyone that gets involved in our epic photographic workshops, is come to LA. And while you're in LA, not only shoot the greatest images you've ever shot in your lifetime, guaranteed, but then go and meet with the publicists, go and meet with the creative directors, the art buyers, the photo editors while you're in town. And on top of that, at our Elite Masterclass, like we have coming up next month, we're going to be bringing in some of the top decision makers in the industry. And I think George might meet us there as well in person. So it's going to be an unbelievable experience. I believe we're going to have 4 of some of the biggest decision makers in LA on location at our amazing workshops, so that you can meet them in person, which is cool.
You know what? And to add to what you're saying, Kevin, I listen, as a photo agent, well, now more than ever as a photographer, you need to be your greatest agent, right? Because let me tell you something. You want, especially if you're in the business of getting an agent, like, trust me, that agent has to feel like you guys are going to almost be agents together. Because the days of just like, you're like, oh, I just do the art and you get me work are over. Like right now, it's like all hands on deck. So the more that you are, when I would go to New York a lot, and I would and use this hack, always have like a sense of urgency when you reach out to these people. If you do want to get that coffee meeting or that meeting in person, just be like, hey, I'm going to be in LA next week for 2 days. Do you have 5? I know you're really busy. Do you have 5 minutes? I can go and bring you coffee, bring you a donut, and just quickly show you my work. I think go out of your way to like show them that you would go that extra mile, and that also at the same time, you're conveying the message that you're very mindful that they're busy. So you're basically saying, hey, I just need 5 minutes. And to create a sense of urgency always works. What I mean by that is, like, if you're going to be in town for 2 days and you're asking for 5 minutes, I might be more flexible with the guy that I know that you're coming from out of state and you're here for 2 days. It's going to bend my heart a little more to say like, okay, fine, we'll meet you, come by the office. And so definitely I agree with Kevin. Like, you don't have to move here yet, but I would definitely plan a trip and really get smart and look up an agency access or who represents, and see if you can get any kind of coffee meeting. And you know what? Like, if you want 5 meetings, reach out to 30 people. It's a numbers game, And you know, it's always a win because even if they don't meet you, they'll know of you. And the marketing message, as you should know, it takes 3 or 4 times for a marketing message to land. So even if they just hear your name and they didn't meet you, boom. The second time they hear your name, boom. The third time they hear your name, until finally it hits.
Definitely good advice. In fact, this is actually one of the productions that George worked with me on, one of our master classes a few years back, and we did this in collaboration with Flaunt Magazine as well as with Gents, which is a hat brand. So it was actually really cool. We kind of created an advertorial for that, and George used his connections and relationships with the magazine to be like, yeah, that sounds like a great plan, great idea. Let's go ahead and do it. And then I produced the whole shoot, and we created that magical production, which was epic.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that was so epic.
By the way, George, your connection there, Speedy Scott Carey, ended up winning the silver medal at the last Olympics, not the Paris one, but the one before, in dressage, which was pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah. Sabine and that amazing horse that we shot with ended up winning the silver at the last Olympics.
Oh, see, you go to Kevin's workshops, you'll have Olympian winning horses. You never know. He's bringing it all.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a U.S. Olympic training facility, and then it turned out to win the silver.
That's right.
Amazing.
That's right.
But that's cool.
That was so epic. Yeah.
Well, George, I mean, you're giving some absolutely brilliant advice, and I know that you have been incredible panelists at many of our workshops over the years. I mean, probably at least 15 of them or so over the years. What is some of the advantage of shooting content at that level? Like we just saw that amazing video. How does that catapult a photographer in their career to be able to achieve big editorial publications and more opportunities in their life?
I mean, listen, the more production value that you have, obviously, on your shoots, right? Like whether it is horses or like a proper prop, a prop staging, but anything that looks like there was production money behind it, immediately for the art buyers, for the photo producers, in general, it makes them feel like, all right, this guy is solid, right? Like somebody believes in this guy and gave him a budget and gave him things. So I really do think your workshops are great at that, Kevin, because immediately it's providing the photographers with so much like art department and production value that definitely puts your work in a way where because you got to remember, photo editors, photo producers, everybody's job is on the line. So they want to hire people that are not going to, they want to hire people that are doing great art, but also that are making them feel safe about then making that introduction to the creative director, right? It's like you reached out to the photo editor, they liked your work, and then they send it to the creative director, and then they hire the guy. If something goes south in that job, then they're going to go back to you and be like, you're the one that brought him in here. So it's like, it is what it is. It's like people's jobs are on the line. So the more that you are shooting incredible content with great models, with great production, with great locations, it's making whoever's going to hire you feel safe and feel like, you know what, Kevin can do a great job. I saw what he can do, which translates into safety, which translates into let's hire this guy.
Totally. Yeah. You're right. I mean, production value is everything, whether you have unbelievable top talent and models, because a lot of times, it's not just about our photography, it's about who's in our photography. And George, we just saw a bunch of the photographers you represent, who, they're all great photographers, but the fact that they have recognizable celebrity faces and supermodels in their photography, that's what really draws our attention.
Yeah, it's like any business, it's like when you're a star in any category, you're a star. Like a star it translates to safety, translates to sales. There's a reason why, a big actor's name is on the marquee, right? Because they are case studies that they bring money back to the producers. So having big celebrities are case studies that you're seasoned, you know what you're doing, and you deliver. So that's why, we want to constantly evolve and take our work to the next level when it comes to the casting and the level of production, so that clients feel, impressed by what we do, and they feel safe about what we do, and they want to keep hiring us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me, George. You're
Awesome, man. Dude, anything you need, I really believe in what you're doing and in how it helps the photographers so much. And even on the mindset factor, it's really good for them to have that experience and create that kind of content that's going to then, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because then you're going to feel more confident, then you're going to create more confident work. And then the other thing for sure, again, one last time, the Shut the Fuck Up Method on Amazon. This is the mindset work that we all need to bring in to what we do, so then we keep scaling up. So super important.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you in person.
All right, man. Take care. Good luck, guys. Talk to you later.
Well, that was amazing to have the great George Perez, big time celebrity fashion photographer, agent, and he hobnobs. I mean, he's being modest, but like he's regularly hangs out with, you know, Kim Kardashian, and Ricky Martin is a good friend of his, and like he's all these people that he knows. He knows everybody in Hollywood, and he's been there a long time. So really valuable connection, and for you guys to meet and hear from the horse's mouth. But he gave some really, really great advice, and I do recommend you guys follow a lot of that guidance when it comes to getting published as a photographer. And one of the things that I do strongly recommend is that George talked about was building production value and how valuable that is. Because with editorials, you know, he mentioned a few things, how you guys are going to have to produce it yourself, which is expensive. You know, to produce a big shoot, you know, it's very, very expensive. So the cost, you know, to produce something epic and iconic is very, very pricey. It's costly. It's a huge you know, cost prohibitive for a lot of people. But the thing is without a world-class production, without iconic images, it's really hard to land iconic projects. So really have to start thinking about the value of the production and how high-end it looks. And you know, just to kind of give you an idea, the cost to do something like this, and you're looking at, these are some of the award-winning images that we've shot over the last couple of years, where we've won 7 out of 10 of the top 10 fashion photographers in America were all shot at our photographic workshops in the One Island Awards. 7 out of 10 of the top 10 photographers in America were all winners from the photography workshop series, all directed, art directed, and produced by me, but photographed by our students. And you can see some of the winners right here, which is pretty incredible. But also the reason they're winning is because of the production value, because of the scale, because a lot of people aren't going to produce something like this for a magazine that when they don't have a budget. So these are all real images. None of these are AI. These are all very, you know, barely Photoshopped. They're almost straight out of camera. The production value is epic. And this is what big magazines do want to see, as well as celebrity publicists and agents. They want to see content like this. And the scale of the production is behemoth in a shoot like this, very expensive. And just to kind of give you guys context, renting a location like this is about $10,000 a day. The wardrobe stylist is about $2,500 a day minimum. Plus the assistant is another $500 a day, plus agency. Plus you've got your wardrobe costs to buy and return or to pay a showroom. Rental fees. You also have the cost of the catering. You have the cost of lighting equipment because we have a massive set. We also have the cost of props, things like the the thing that you're standing on, or the parachute, and then there's a giant truck to the left that the parachute is attached to with 5 giant fans blowing on it. You also have aspects of the you've got makeup, which is generally $1,500 a day, hair $1,500 a day to work with these top celebrity stylists, and then you've got the talent, which can be many thousands of dollars. So when it's all said and done, the production value is absolutely massive and very, 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 very costly. So to be able to shoot something like this and produce it on your own is a fortune. And one of the, and unless you've got Margot Robbie or, you're shooting with Kim Kardashian or some major celebrity where it might be worth it for you to foot the bill. But in most cases, it's probably not. In most cases, it's going to be more valuable for you guys to develop and build a mind-blowing photographic portfolio at that same iconic level, but without having to break the bank. And that's one of the biggest reasons we designed the Photography Workshop Series 15 years ago, was to create an experience where we guarantee you're going to photograph the greatest images you've ever shot in your lifetime, and to be able to create a 40-image cohesive body of work of iconic images that would take you many years, oftentimes even to develop to get to the point where you have those connections, about 10 years. and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, or you get involved in one of our workshop experiences in 5 days that would take you a decade to do on your own. And that's a huge advantage. So if you guys are interested in, whether you are interested in getting involved in any of our upcoming epic workshops, or if you just want some free guidance, we are offering this week an opportunity to join our photographic coaches, because this week is actually the beginning of the Photographer's University September session, where we're going to go in depth about the business of photography. So we're going to go in depth about mastering your photographic brand, which is all the stuff we're talking about. It includes editorials, includes your portfolio, includes basically everything visual about who you are as a photographer. We're then going to go into a session on marketing and how to market and get in touch with those photo editors and get in touch with those fashion editorials and to be able to shoot for major magazines as well as advertising campaigns. We're then going to get in depth about networking, how to network with the right people and how to be able to shoot at the really highest level, because you know everybody, just like George Perez does. So if that's something that you guys are interested in doing, I did put a link in the chat to visit Photographers University. And I'm also putting in a link in the chat to click if you want to set up a one-on-one dedicated photographic momentum session with one of our coaches, which I do strongly recommend, because it will give you a lot of clarity and guidance. And our coaches this week are going to be hooking you guys up and basically giving you an example of what the photographic coaching sessions look like that we offer during Photographers University during our 30-day accelerator. And our 30-day accelerator is essentially, we have the opportunity is, of course, the unbelievable in-person experiences. But the 30-day accelerator at the Photographers University is something that we started, in the last year. It has been a slamming success. We do these every quarter, and we offer the opportunity for our photographers to completely accelerate their brand, their marketing, their networking, and their ability to book more clients and close the deal. We also have a session on creative mastery, on posing, art direction, storytelling, as well as producing and how to produce these magical shoots. Now, if this is also something you guys are interested in, we are starting the next session tomorrow. So this is the absolute last chance to get involved and to be a part of the Photographers University session that is going to be starting tomorrow. It's going to be extremely over the top. We're going to go super in depth. We're going to go generally about 3-hour sessions each week for 4 weeks. And I'm going to be working with you live, and we're going to go have you on live and go in depth about how you can master your photographic brand, your marketing, your networking, closing the deal, and doing everything about how to basically catapult yourself to the next level. So if this is something you're interested in, please, during your session, talk to us and let us know if this is something that you want to achieve and want to do. This is definitely the least, the most inexpensive investment. If you guys want to get involved at a more inexpensive level, we do recommend the university. If you want to go all in and be a part of our epic in-person experiences, obviously those are going to completely catapult you to the next level on a way that nothing else in the world is going to. And that's why we are the most elite photographic workshop in the world, hands down. There's nothing that even remotely compares. And you can expect to shoot content like this. And by the way, all the content I'm showing you is shot by our attendees, by the students attending. This is all shot by attendees. This is not just stuff by me. This is stuff that's our photographers that have attended. This is exactly the product that you received. This will be your content. You're going to shoot the greatest images of your lifetime, just like this. This was shot at our masterclass in LA, which was completely over the top. In fact, George Perez, I think, was a panelist at the last, 7 of our elite master classes, because he's brilliant, and our photographers have had an opportunity to meet him and build relationships with him and even land opportunities with him, which is pretty cool. So if you guys are interested, please click on that link, check it out. This is the last chance to join. I do highly, highly, highly recommend it. And without further ado, I'd love to also bring on one of our amazing coaches, because, we're talking about these coaching sessions. We're talking about what that looks like. And I would love to bring on some of our coaches for you guys to meet personally. They will work with you. They all work as colleagues of my own, just like George Perez. And I bring on unbelievable coaches that can help you guys and not only give you guidance, but also hold you accountable and help you push to get to that next level, because it's not something that is going to just come out of the blue. You're not going to get these phone calls from Vanity Fair to say, hey, Kevin, I'm ready to book you. It doesn't work that way. You have to hustle, and you have to create a brand. You have to market yourself. You have to network, and then you have to go after that to book the opportunities. Now, this is the great Brian. Now, Brian's amazing, and he's actually joining us from the Canary Islands, right off the coast of Spain. Brian, he's incredible. He's actually got multiple photographers that he's bringing on and coaching during the university. And Brian has a really fantastic perspective. He's also can help you on helping you with your business and about how to, if you want to get published, he can help guide you to get you there. And throughout the Photographer's University session, we're going to be going in depth about this, and Brian's going to help hold you accountable. So Brian, why don't you introduce yourself and talk to our photographers a little bit about maybe how some of your coaching sessions go and what kind of value that you add to their lives.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Kevin, and welcome everyone. Thank you for being here and showing up for yourselves. Because at the end of the day, this is very exciting for us because this is where a lot of you will start to really play a bigger game of photography. So we get to see you escalate in that. As Kevin said, I live in the Canary Islands. I've been here for 13 years. I've been in Europe now for 15 years, which is wild to even say. And I've been in the coaching space for about 6 years. And being able to work on this team with Kevin to help photographers really get past their fear of imposter syndrome, even their fear of success, is one of the most rewarding things that I can do. And it just makes me reflect today. We called on one of the guys who reached out. Someone reached out to one of our ads on Facebook, and they wanted to know more about what we do in the workshops. And when I spoke to him, his first thing that he went to was the negativism, the doubt. He was already convincing me that, I shoot $150 for celebrities, or I don't charge because celebrities don't want to pay me for that, or I don't think I can get to that level. And I'm glad that Jorge came on here already talking about mindset, because that's what it comes down to, guys. At the end of the day, as creatives, as artists, to be able to be at the level that you really want to be, that you aspire to be, it first has to start with your belief. And I'll tell you, I'll get in there with you. I'll roll my sleeves up and I'll grapple with you to pull that out of you. But at the end of the day, if you do not have the belief in yourself that you can achieve a level of success in your photography and be in that top 3-5%, you'll never get there. So what Kevin has created for you is an opportunity, the pathway for you as an artist. Most of you, actually a lot of you, probably weren't meant for university or going to a traditional college. And that's okay. That's how one of our new students, Miles, has. He didn't go to college. He's not meant to. He's an artist. He's meant to be in this university that's about the photography business. It's about creativity. It's about networking. It's about pulling the tools out to get you on this pathway that may not be in traditional college or university. So as long as you're able to step in and say yes to yourself, we'll say yes to you time and time again. And it's more likely that you would probably doubt yourself more than we will. But as long as you're able to believe that, we'll keep on pushing you towards excellence and greatness. But you have to believe, and we're here for you.
So Brian, you talk a little bit about mindset. What about some of the action steps? Some of the things that you think would really benefit a photographer as far as how to achieve some of their goals? Can you talk a little bit about that?
100%. Well, first thing is say yes to yourself and show up. And what I mean by that is Kevin has made us available. He pays us very, very well. As he said, this is the elite program. He pays us very well, but he makes us available to you to go through a photographic review, to create momentum on your business for free. So say yes to yourself and show up to that, number one. Number two, the mindset in regards to taking the action is just that, like the follow through. Fact of the matter is most of the photographers who don't get seen, who aren't making the money, it's not because they're not good. There's phenomenal photographers out there who just get missed. Why? Because they doubt putting the work out there and actually taking the steps to knock on the doors, which, coming back to, again, some of our photographers now, is when we're talking about their action steps, is we say, look, it's great you have great work, but be willing to go out there and present it to new artists, present it to the entertainers that are in your town. Like, for example, in Cincinnati, this is where one of our new photographers who's just joined Photographers University, he lives in Cincinnati. He says, the market's a bit rough and this, that, and third. I said, look, I hear that and I'm hearing excuses. So understand this, for you to be able to shoot the best work and to shoot the Tony Braxtons and to shoot the Bruno Mars of the world, that's his goal. You have to be willing to go and knock on the doors until someone says yes. Because when they say no, it's not a no to you. It's no because they're busy. It's no because they feel overwhelmed, whatever it may be. But as soon as you make it personal and you stop, you're not stopping for them. You're killing your own dream. And so as a photographer, if you're here to get your work out there and to capture this essence of someone in their natural beauty, and that's your mission, you have to be able to keep on saying yes to yourself, even when it feels like there's a door there. Find the door that opens up. And so definitely take steps and let your passion guide you towards the yes.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. Well, Brian, one of the best things you just said is like, it's about the knocking on the door, hustling, and actually putting the action into place. And I'm really glad you said that. That's something that George touched on a little bit, but didn't really talk about as much. And I think that that's one of the things that I encourage all of you guys to do, because it's not just about mindset, because mindset's really important. It starts with that. It's believing in yourself. If you believe in the laws of attraction, the way George does, and you really, want to manifest things into your life. I've been able to do that. I've been able to achieve unbelievable things for myself because what I've manifested, because I literally have, I put myself in that mindset. I started from absolutely nothing in my life. I grew up very, lower income, didn't have anything to my name. And I moved to LA as just a, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed kid with nothing but $150,000 in debt. And I had the mindset to be able to go after the things that I wanted to do. But most importantly, I had the tenacity. And that's why I was able to buy a 49-room palace in France and be able to achieve, opportunities that I never even thought was possible, because I also did the actions. And those are the actions that Brian is talking about. It's not just thinking and wishing and hoping. It's, you got to actually put the effort in and the energy in. And the whole point of these photographic coaching sessions and the whole point of Photography University is so that we can not only give you everything you need to know to be successful. I mean, I can teach you everything you need to know about photographic branding. I can teach you everything you need to know about marketing and even incorporating AI into your marketing. I can even go in depth and teach you how to meet and network and hobnob with the right people, the celebrity publicists and all those people. I can even help you how to book more clients and close a deal and make more money. But the real key are going to be those sessions with your coach like Brian, where you're going to go one-on-one with him, and he's going to make sure he's going to hold your feet to the fire and help you, push you to actually do the actions so that you can achieve the success. Because it isn't just about mindset, it's about actually doing the action and the work. And that's the critical aspect. And one of the cornerstones of what the Photography University is actually built on is not just shooting the greatest images of your lifetime that you will during the photography workshop series, but it's implementing the actions to get there. And I think that, Brian is a perfect opportunity. If you get a chance to work with him, he will really hustle to help you achieve those goals. And I really recommend it because it will change your life. And I think that if you guys set up one of those sessions, just like I had put in the chat, strongly recommend it. If you specifically want to work with Brian, just let us know. And you can jump on a one-on-one Zoom with him if you haven't already. And I encourage that for sure. So Brian, you've given some really fantastic guidance. As far as, I know you've also got to see the success of some of these photographers that have come through the workshop series, and you've been able to, see the unbelievable images and the publications and the success stories of what they've achieved. Do you feel as though if a photographer shoots something at this quality, what we've been showing, do you feel like that's going to give them a leg up in the industry and give them an opportunity to achieve some of their dreams? Oh, for some reason you're muted there, Brian. Sorry. His volume went off for a second. Because I can tell you what, from my perspective, I think that you're still muted, Brian, but I think that if you're able to shoot content like this and you can win awards, it literally changes your life. It will literally give you that opportunity to just catapult to the top and be able to be like, oh yeah, I won #1 fashion photographer in the world award. That's a pretty big deal. If you share that with a magazine editor or you share that with an art buyer from an ad agency, your chances of booking it definitely increase. Did your volume get back there, Brian? Oh, for some reason his volume went off. But guys, when you can create production value at this level and you can go in and then show this to that publicist, I tell you what, those managers, publicists, and agents, they fall in love with you if you have content like this, because this is how they want their celebrity portrayed. This is what they want them to look like, something at this level. This is a huge deal. It's a huge, huge, huge opportunity. Well, Brian's having some volume challenges on his end, but he was an absolute joy to have on. He gave some great guidance. I strongly suggest you guys jump on with him one-on-one, set up a coaching session, and I would love to work with him personally. And I'm excited to have him. He's going to be starting tomorrow with the Photographers University with his photographers that he's working with personally, and I'd love that to be you as well. So if you guys are interested, definitely let us know if he is one of the coach that you want to work with. Thank you so much, Brian. Now, I'd like to guys bring on our next panelist. I know we've got gracing ourselves with all these amazing people. And this is one of our amazing photographic coaches, Eric Smith. And Eric, he's an incredible guy. Eric is somebody that I've gotten to know really, really well personally. I'm very, very grateful for that, because he's working with a huge amount of our photographers on a regular basis, coaching them, guiding them. And he's honestly one of the superstars that we've ever had on our team with the photography workshop series over the years. So really, really, really happy to have him as a part of this. And I'm excited because, Eric also, I just flew him to my castle in France, and I just hosted him and his wonderful wife, which was amazing. And we had an incredible time at my palace in France, hosting him there. And then also we went around Paris and also to the Loire Valley and had some incredible experiences there. So Eric has got a chance to recently experience the castle, and I'm excited for him to jump on and join us and talk with us about his amazing experiences there. So I also, and Eric, let me know when you are on. I don't see your video just yet.
I am here if you can hear me.
Perfect. I can hear you. I can't see you just yet.
I can see me.
All right. Yeah, for some reason it's not showing up just yet on our screen. But maybe you can rejoin.
Nope. Can you see me now?
I cannot. But anyway, Eric, I actually have a few images from him with me in France, which is pretty awesome. So, but anyway, you may want to jump out and jump back in, Eric. Oh, there you okay.
Can you see me now?
I can see you now. Yep.
All right. Yeah, just refreshed it.
Well, Eric and his wife, we just took him to the Loire Valley, and we had an amazing time in France together, which was absolutely epic.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yes. But anyway, so Eric, I know this last year, you've had a tremendous amount of photographic consults with photographers on a regular basis. You're doing Zoom calls every day, doing photographic strategy sessions, momentum sessions, image reviews, and guiding photographers on getting published, as well as shooting, huge opportunities, ad campaigns, increasing how much money they want to make, building their brand and all of that. I would love for you to kind of give us some guidance about some of the things that you see on a regular basis, because I know you're literally you're doing these consults and these strategy sessions every day. So what are some of the most common things that you see that are holding photographers back, and some of the strategies that you provide that help them achieve greatness?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I'd say that one of the most common things that I see is fear. Like the fear of getting rejected, the fear of nobody wanting to talk to that person, if I make a phone call, they might, they might say no, they don't want to hear anything. But I think that it's really important to highlight a couple things that George said, because, this is a lot of the stuff that I go over with photographers, is that it's these people's job to know who the photographers are. And, it might be, the photo editor at some major Fortune 500 company or some major fashion brand. And yeah, they have a big position, but it's still a job and they're paid to do a good job. So if they can find a photographer who's going to get them better images and a better value, a better bang for their buck, even if you're talking about $100 or $200 or $300,000 ad campaign, if you can, if you can show that person that, like, hey, I'm consistent, I'm persistent, like he said, sometimes it's going to be your fourth, fifth, sixth time reaching out to somebody before they respond back. I mean, imagine the amount of hustle and discipline that the person that is in that position had to go through, like how much time and effort they put climbing up the ladder at that company to be where they're at. They're not going to want to work with somebody who gives it one shot, one email, one reach out. They might save your info. They might put it off to the side. Like, hey, I saw this guy, he's got great work. Don't have anything that really matches up with his portfolio at the moment, but they'll keep that information. But if they've heard you, they've gotten an email from you a fourth, fifth time, they've gotten a message from their receptionist or secretary that, this person has called and left a message for them, like, you're on their mind, and it's their job to know who you are. And they want to see that if you have an opportunity, even if it's as loose as just reaching out to somebody of importance, they want to see that, like, you are taking the time and effort to reach out, build your brand, that you have, high production value images, that your brand is on point, that your website's clean, that your message comes across friendly and inviting. So it really, it's really about just getting to the point where you're not relying on motivation, to get you to do things, and just making things a discipline. Because you can either suffer the pain of discipline or suffer the pain of regret when it comes down to it. Because, like, you need to do these reach outs. And if you just set aside time to go through the motions, like what we teach at the Photographers University, we have the blueprint. We know what works. Obviously from, the success you've had in your career, you've figured out the do's and the don'ts. That's what we go through with photographers. We can give you the blueprint. It's really just about making asserted efforts to constantly and continually build your brand and reach out to people. Because, when it comes to reaching out to advertising agencies and the right people at those companies, there's not really a marketing that you can just buy. There's not postcards that you're sending out to 5,000 people or 100,000 people in your area, because that's not going to reach very specific buyers in this and decision makers in this industry. It really takes constant and consistent effort targeting specific people, reaching out with emails, reaching out with phone calls, and following up. And to, get better results with that, it also helps to have an extremely, well, basically, like he was talking about, like a really nice portfolio that shows production value. Because at the end of the day, you're asking somebody to trust you with $200,000. They want to know that you can handle a shoot like that. They want to know that you'll do a good job for them. So every reach out that you do, every effort that you make, and when you do get a chance to actually pitch and put a proposal together, you want to go put as much value and time and effort into that proposal, showing like, hey, I put this much time together just trying to figure out a bid for your project. I got images that I created on Mid-Journey, and I'm showcasing what I would like to do. I have my work put together in a really nice presentation. I'm coming in with energy and enthusiasm. When you actually get a meeting, like he was talking about, being friendly, and you put all those things in so that you can show that you bring a value. Because it's kind of like Alex Hormozi likes to talk about nowadays, just not being lazy is a big leg up. Putting in those steps and, really just taking the time to study your profession and be a master of your profession. And a big part of that with photography is the business part, like doing the reach outs, doing the specific marketing, and just making that a discipline. And I think that, like they always talk about, how do you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. You make small changes to your schedule. You start with an hour or two a week that you dedicate to reaching out. And when you successfully do that and you continue to, really always clock in those hours, it's going to be easier for you to add another hour or two the next week, because you'll see small successes build up and growing your confidence. It's not something where we expect everybody just to know exactly what they're doing right off the bat, but the 30-day accelerator is called that for a reason. It can accelerate what most photographers take 10, 15, 20 years to learn, even if they learn it. Because you can have 10, 15, 20 years of bad experience too. So it's really to circumvent that learning process and just learn the exact methods that actually work, and then with the coaching, I mean, everybody needs somebody to help them, motivate them, keep them on track. And the coaching, I think the most rewarding part for me is meeting with people every week or every other week and seeing how they're doing and pushing them to succeed and, like holding them accountable for their own success, because as soon as they have that confidence on their own, it really starts to accelerate. In a nutshell.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, you raised a lot of really, really good points. I really appreciate that. I think that, one of the biggest, you mentioned also fear that's holding a lot of people back. So a lot of them are kind of afraid of failure. Generally, that's what it is. But also, one of the common things is, they're not putting in the effort. They're not going after it. They're afraid of what happens if they do put in the effort. If people are going to say no or they're not going to like them. I think building thick skin is really important, but also having a body of work that's powerful and a brand to be proud of. I think that, you mentioned something, Eric, where you might have a photographer shooting or having a whole lot of experience, but maybe it's not the right experience. That was a really, really interesting comment you made, because to me, I've worked with so many photographers who have been shooting for 30 or 40 years, and they still haven't really gone anywhere. They're not shooting for Vogue. They're not shooting for Harper's Bazaar. They're not shooting for Versace. They're not shooting Pepsi campaigns. They're still just doing headshots or, little model portfolio shoots, or they're still just doing family pictures. And and which is fine, but if they have goals of wanting to do something more, but they're not achieving it, that's where you come in. So what kind of methods do you suggest for a photographer like that maybe has been shooting for 30 years? Hasn't really achieved the kind of success that they want to achieve? What would you do to help them?
Well, I mean, through a bit of conversation, it's one of those things where I like to help people kind of go through the experiences that they've had so that they can, really do one of the toughest things that any of us can do is realize that we haven't been doing something that we should be doing. Otherwise, we'd be in a different place than we are. So, it can be a humbling thought, but it's like, hey, if I'm not where I wanted to be at this point in my career, what should I have done different? I can blame it on circumstance, but all of us have circumstance. Every photographer who is currently shooting big ad campaigns has circumstance. There's excuses they could have given themselves. And it's one of those things where you just have to stop giving yourself any excuses and just realize, if I want to make this happen, he's not going to make it happen. She's not going to make it happen for me. I have to make it happen for me. There at my gym, there's this big banner that says hustle is the only pillar of success you can control. And, I love that phrase because it's true. You have to put in some hustle. You have to, you have to take time to where, you just say, I need to work on, a few email campaigns that I send out to a bunch of important people. And I'm going to do that instead of watching Netflix today. I'm going to do that instead of going to the movies or going out to eat. I can give myself a PBJ at home and just get on the computer and make something happen. And I feel like the coaching sessions are really vital for that. Not just because you have somebody helping you, but because it starts to create a process where you take a certain amount of time every week to just work on your business, to just work on what you need to do. And you have somebody encouraging you to do it. Because, anytime you get stuck, that's what you need. That's why teams have coaches. It's you have, the NFL and, the NBA and all these major league teams, these people have hustled their way to success, they're doing twice as many practices. And you hear all these stories about how guys got to the NBA, but they still need a coach. They still need somebody to tell them hey, you got to do this. You got to step it up, because even the top athletes in the world and the top of anything in the world need somebody at some point to just hey, try this instead. So it's basically, don't rely on everything that's gotten you to the point where you are. If you're not happy with where you are, try to learn a different way that's going to work. And to do that, you typically want to find somebody, what I always tell people is find the most successful person that's willing to teach you and then just do what they tell you to do. So yourself, you've had a lot of success, what works. And we know that system inside and out, and that blueprint is what we tailor to every photographer that we work with. And then we encourage them on how to do it, but it's really just about putting in that hustle and realizing that if you're not where you need to be, then it's time to change that. It's time to make a change, because if you keep doing what you're doing and expecting a different result, that's insanity.
Absolutely. I'm really glad you mentioned that, because I think a lot of photographers do that exact thing. They keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result. And for some reason, nothing changes, and they don't invest in the correct things. I know a lot of photographers, instead of investing, for instance, in shooting a huge production value kind of shoot like we've been talking about, or, shooting a huge celebrity and doing some huge production kind of thing, instead they waste their money on buying silly things that they don't need, an extra lens or a new camera that they don't really need. Honestly, you guys, I feel like camera technology pretty much peaked like maybe 6-7 years ago, where, to be honest, the cameras, they get mildly better, but it really doesn't matter. Even if I'm shooting with a camera that I bought 6 years ago, it still looks exactly the same as the newest of the newest camera today. It doesn't make much of a difference. And I've never had a client in my entire career. I've been shooting for professionally now for 22 years, and I've never had a client once even care or ask me what camera I'm shooting with. It's completely irrelevant. So don't waste your money on gear. Don't waste it on a camera or lenses or lighting or any of that nonsense. Don't waste it on a studio that you don't need. Don't waste it on extra employees that you definitely don't need. You should be focusing solely on investing in your brand, investing in your portfolio, investing in your brand and your marketing, which is what we're talking about, which is shooting massive scale, unbelievable productions that are award winning. I would say that that's probably the number one thing to invest in, is something like this, to win awards, to get published, to shoot celebrities. And I think that if you're not doing this, if you're going to do the same old thing over and over again, it's not going to get you anywhere. But if you do take the step, like Eric's saying, and you do shoot the greatest images you've ever shot in your lifetime with world-class supermodels that have been in Versace campaigns and Burberry campaigns and Vogue, and you shoot with world-class celebrity stylists, and you meet all these connections and relationships, and shoot a 5-day shoot that would cost $500,000 to do on your own, you're going to have a leg up. And the same old is going to be different now. It's going to completely catapult you to the next level, and it's going to give you an opportunity for success that you never even dreamed was possible. And those of you guys who are on, because I know quite a few of you that are on right now have taken my workshops, even multiple workshops. I have some of you on that have taken like 7 or 8 workshops, which is fantastic. And now we need to do a couple of things. One is, for you guys, I want you guys to now implement it. And if you haven't implemented, that's what we do during the university. Starting tomorrow, we're going to be implementing it. You're going to be working with Brian. You're going to be working with Eric. You're going to be working with our other coaches to implement everything into your photographic journey if you've got this amazing brand. And then let's refresh it. Create new content, fresh content. Because if you shot something 5-6 years ago, it might not be relevant going into 2025. You need to shoot new content all the time. And that's the reason we call it Photography Workshop Series, is because we do a whole series of productions throughout the year. Now, Eric, I would like just kind of for you to leave us here with some guidance on, you talked a little bit about hustle and how that's the number one pillar. How could hustling really help get a photographer published?
Well, really, because it's a numbers game. You have the content that you have, right? And you really should be putting that your best foot forward. Obviously, photographers who we've worked with at the workshops, they have a leg up with the content they have, because exactly what George was talking about. They don't look at images the same as most photographers. Most photographers look how pretty and beautiful and artsy the photo is. These decision makers, they look at how much it costs to make. Does it look like the makeup was done by a professional? Is the hair done by a professional? Are they wearing thousands of dollars in wardrobe? Oh, there's a horse. That means there's an animal wrangler. Oh, there's a food stylist. That was $5,000. All these things. Oh, there's a multi-million-dollar, location that they're shooting at. The production value is big. So the better production value you can put, yeah, there you go. Great image. The better production value that you can have in your images that they see, that's really important. But the thing is, with the portfolio that you have, when you're basically, you're instead of trying to fish like one thing at a time. You got to throw out the biggest net that you can.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what a numbers game is that you are trying to work with people who match the vibe and like the work that you have. So, what's the chance that if you email 10 people that somebody 1 out of 10 is even going to, really feel like, hey, this really matches with a campaign? I think you'd have a better job just, I don't know, sending out to 1,000, because you have 1,000 chances. So, if you're taking 1,000 chances over 10 chances, that's going to be just better. It's really about just making sure that you're constantly and consistently reaching out to as many people as possible, because as you start to gain opportunities, those opportunities are their own snowball that starts an effect where, like, you can get this brand, and then that brand helps you get another brand. You leave a great impression on that advertising agency. They want to work with you again, so they give you a chance to bid on something you didn't even ask about next time. It's really just about creating opportunities for yourself and realizing that marketing is different with commercial work. It's not a billboard where you're trying to, get to mass, like a mass of people for, a $2 or $3 item. You're trying to find one person for a $50,000 item, which is a photo shoot, a $100,000 item. So it's worth reaching out to as many of them as possible until you connect with one. And you might connect with them and they might tell you some negative feedback, but negative feedback can help you too, because if you can get somebody on with you and they give you some critique about why they're not hiring you, now you know why you haven't gotten callbacks from other people. So even the rejection is worth it, because it can help you. It can help sharpen you. And just like a pencil sharpener, it's grinding down. These, sharp blades are grinding you down. I'm sure it doesn't feel good for the pencil, So like the rejection can cut away these pieces of you that are not helping you get work. So it's worth it for the good connections and the connections that, are telling you why they didn't hire you. And they might even just tell you that they're not looking to do anything right now, and that's great, but they actually responded to you. They have your name. They took the time to respond to you because they must have liked something. And then you can reach back out to them when you have even more and better images. And every shoot that you do, like you're making new contacts. And really also at that point, anytime that you have any of these connections, you want to be really energetic and positive. Because again, these are still people at work. So they want to work with people that they like to work with. Nobody likes to have a job and sit across from Dwight, right? Like Dwight from The Office. It's like nobody wants to work with people that they don't get along with. So if you're the person that's hiring photographers and they're independent contractors and you have a choice not to ever hire them again, you're going to not hire them if they were crappy to deal with. But if they were fun, they were excited the whole time, they were positive about anything. Everybody likes being around people who are positive all the time. Unless they're just truly negative people. But I mean, for the most part, people are going to want to work with people who make their lives better, makes their jobs better. So if you can be that person, you bring that value, bring that energy every time you have a chance, just really add that extra value. I mean, think about it. That's the type of people that get hired. But if you never even have the chance to show that, it's because you didn't reach out to enough people.
That's so true. And it's funny. I'm glad you brought that up, Eric, because funny enough, that's actually how I met George, was that process of, you mentioned, hey, instead of going after a few people, go after 1,000, right? Well, I did that. I went after, I literally had like a binder. I printed out the agency access list and I contacted thousands and thousands and thousands of art buyers and creative directors. Then when I had opportunities and stuff, I would contact agents. I contacted every single agent in America. George Perez was one of the agents that was with Opus Reps, which is one of the most high-tier agencies in LA at the time. They were like literally the premier agency, like tier 1 top agency representing the most famous photographers. And I owned by Bobby Heller, and George Perez was one of the partners there. And I basically contacted them. I introduced myself. I wasn't what they wanted at the time. I was some kid, I was like, I don't know, 20, 23, 24, something like that. And they did remember me. They said no. They said no, they're not interested. But they did remember me, because a couple years later, after I had been represented by a couple other agents that I was able to get, I revisited And after I had put in the work, which Eric is talking about, I put in the work to get magazines to publish me, to get ad agencies to let me bid on campaigns and then land campaigns. I had an opportunity. I had a big campaign. It was about $165,000 campaign that I was bidding on for Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, and I contacted like 10 agents to get their advice.
Mm-hmm.
Best way to get an agent, and I happen to have George Perez's phone number, his cell phone number. In fact, I think I still have his cell phone in my phone as Opus George because he used to work at Opus. Hasn't worked there in years. And I called, and he picked up. Timing was just right. He had just left the agency, and Opus was about to go and kind of close its doors because the guy was selling it and basically retiring. And George had started his own agency. And it was just timing, serendipitous timing. But because even though I got rejected the first time, I called again. And a couple of years later, I keep calling, and at that time, George was available, started his own agency looking for photographers. And then I happened to have a big, huge campaign opportunity. And I was asking his opinion on usage and creative fees for it. And he was very interested in representing me on it. So he said, okay, well, here's my advice, but I would also like to represent you on this one-off project. And I said, absolutely. Of course, it's expensive for me because it's 25% creative fee of my creative fee and usage. So that's a lot of money. But I said, okay, with one condition. If this goes well, I'd like you to represent me full time. Yeah. And even though we didn't land that campaign, we did do the whole process. We went and we gave him brought him wine and cheese. We went to the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf corporate office. We went through the whole process, and they ended up booking somebody else. But throughout that process, it gave me that opportunity to build that rapport and relationship, and then be represented by one of the top agencies, in the country. And it was a huge opportunity for me, and I loved it. But because I did what Eric's talking about, and I put in the hustle, and no matter how many times I got rejected, I didn't care. It just fueled me further. The more rejection, the more it fuels me, because I feel like if everything's easy, you're not going to be pushed. So if you guys want success, listen to Eric, work with Eric. I would strongly recommend, I put it in the chat, to set up a one-on-one session. If you specifically want to work with Eric, then let us know, and just message us about that. Eric is going to be coaching a whole bunch of our photographers throughout the Photographers University starting tomorrow. And if you guys want to get involved with that, it will literally change your whole perception, and it will help you achieve some success. So thank you so much, Eric. It was also an absolute pleasure having you at the French Dream Castle. And, and if you guys are also interested in joining us at the French Dream Castle and the next one, we strongly recommend getting in early so that you can plan it out and plan your epic trip, because I recommend going to the palaces in Versailles, go to the unbelievable locations and fabulous castles in the Loire Valley where I took Eric, and then, of course, come to the castle and have an experience of a lifetime shooting supermodels. But
you definitely got to go.
All right. Thank you so much, Eric. That was a pleasure.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Anyway, you heard from another one of our amazing coaches. This has been so fun because I normally don't get to have so many panelists on, but I absolutely love it. From the great George Perez reps, the famous agent, to all these amazing photographic coaches, you guys are getting a lot of gold here. And whether you guys are watching this in rebroadcast or whether you're watching it live, I know we're going to have thousands watching this in rebroadcast. I really recommend even you guys to make sure to click on the link and be able to set up a momentum session to get your opportunity for a coaching session. Now, I want to introduce to you the wonderful Michel. Now, Michel McLean, she is an absolute joy to work with. She is probably one of the most positive and sweetest and most incredible human beings that I've got a chance to meet. And I'm super excited to have her on. I think this is, one of your first. Oh, she just jumped up. One of her first appearances on our webinars, one of her earliest ones. And I'm really excited to have her on because she also coaches photographers, guides photographers, and helps them with a lot of mindset, helps them with a lot of, kind of what George Perez was talking about thinking in the right way, being able to really start to put yourself in the right mindset and position to be an amazingly successful creative person, because a lot of it is about mindset. Now, Michel, I know you've had a chance to coach a lot of amazing photographers and photographers that maybe have a lot of potential but haven't achieved their potential yet because of maybe some mindset things that are holding them back. Can you talk a little bit about that? Maybe introduce yourself and talk to us a little bit about mindset and what kind of strategies that you recommend to help photographers achieve more success.
Absolutely. So hi, everyone. Thank you for having me on. This has been a phenomenal event so far. Such good stuff given. So I'm just going to add to what some of the other strategists or coaches have said. And a big part of that is actually vision. I speak with a lot of photographers that, believe it or not, don't have a vision. They have no idea where they're going to land. And even though that's kind of scary when I talk to them, when I really get down to the nitty gritty of like, all right, where are we headed? What's the vision? What's the plan? What's the path? They don't know. A lot of them are throwing stuff at the wall, just hoping that it's going to stick. So that's huge. First off is just having a vision, having an idea of where is it we're going? What is the dream? What would be the ideal thing for to happen for your career? Because I find that some people that have been in the business for a while, especially, sometimes they've lost that belief. They've lost that traction. They've lost the dream, and they're just in it. And they're just turning the wheels. They're just turning the wheels. They're just turning the wheels, just crossing their fingers that one day something magical is just going to happen. Like the FedEx guy's going to knock on their door and be like, hey, I heard you're a great photographer. And, some people just think that. And I'm like, hey, I don't mean to bust that bubble. We got to put together a plan. We have to put together a plan to make the dream happen. Right? There is something magical whenever you do have a plan in place to execute, right? But step one is creating the vision. Where are we going first and foremost? Where are we going? Right? So starting to just let yourself dream, even if you're just becoming a photographer, this is your first webinar to be on, or if you've been on a million webinars before and you're just working on that belief thinking, I don't know if that dream can happen, but I'm still here because it's a passion. What if it's still possible for you? What if that is still possible? What if you could have that magical dream of yours still happen no matter how long you've been in? Like I said, whether you're brand new or whether you've been in forever. A big key factor is creating the vision. The next part's going to be, all right, we have to figure out what is going to be the plan. And that's going to be the closing the gap portion, right? That's what I love to do with people is figuring out first the vision, where are we going? And then we got to backtrack, because obviously if you'd already be there. Right? If you already had the plan, if there wasn't a gap, you would already be there. We wouldn't be having this conversation. That means there's a gap between where you are right now and where you actually want to be. So we get to figure out what is missing. Is it the business plan? Is it the accountability? Is it the connections? Is it the education and the practice and having, the perfect shots, the perfect portfolio? What is it? We get to identify all of those blocks right now. Otherwise, you would already have it. You would already have the dream, right? If there wasn't a block, something missing, something that's in the way. So that's a huge part of it, is finding out what's missing in the gap that we get to create the bridge for, to where you get to have your dream happen.
No, Michel, I'm glad you brought that up. I want to actually talk a little bit about that specifically, the vision, creating that layout and everything. And this is kind of a fun thing that I want you guys to do if you set up a photographic session with one of our photographic coaches like Michel, is we're also going to give you this really fun homework assignment. And I'm encouraging you guys all to do this right now. Everybody that's on this and everybody that's watching this and rebroadcast, I want you guys to start, first of all, thinking about and this is a creative process, right? I'm going to give you guys a creative assignment. This is not like a put your nose to the grindstone kind of work. This is a fun opportunity. I want to see the greatest images you've ever shot in your lifetime, or that you've always wanted to shoot. Images that are absolutely mind-blowing to you, that get you super excited. Images that you're like, oh my gosh, if you have a famous photographer that you follow, you're like, oh, I've always fell in love with Annie Leibovitz's work, or I've always loved Stephen Meisel, or I've always loved, Patrick Demachelier, or whatever, whoever it is, whoever that you're inspired by. I want you to come up with a story. I want you to come up with images that are absolutely inspiring and spectacular to you. And I want you to come up with, like, if there's a category, whether it's, say it's editorial, because that's what we're talking about, editorial publication. And there's a story that you've always wanted to tell. And the reason I'm going to have you do this is because I want you to first start off with that homework assignment of the 30 greatest images you've ever seen in your lifetime. And then I want you to put it into a creative brief. And this creative brief we're going to be designing with one of our photographic coaches, totally free. This is just a free coaching session for you. And this is an example of one. This is one where essentially it's creating a story, a creative brief. And this is my favorite method of getting published. Even if you're going after celebrities and you're going after their agents, if you put together an editorial story that includes a celebrity and what the images are going to look like, and like, for instance, these are some a few years back from Kirsten Dunst and some other celebrities. Most of these were done by like Annie Leibovitz and other famous photographers. So these were some inspirational images of a palace haute couture kind of look. And this is a story. This has some inspiration of exactly what the story entails, the sophistication. You've got a sword fight, you've got a carriage, you've got everything, with wardrobe mostly from the 1600s and 1700s. So you have this like King Louis XIV era style and look and feel at a palace. And this would be something that's really interesting. So, this would be an example. This would be a concept, a story, something that would really be inspirational and amazing. And this is part of the whole storytelling process. And this is something that I pitched to magazines. Now, what's fun about this project, and I encourage all of you guys to do this, put together the 30 images. Then when you get on and do a coaching session, we will go in depth about developing a creative brief just like this. And then we'll help you put together 3 creative briefs. And what I like to do is I like to pitch those 3 creative briefs to magazines. Because instead of just throwing something at the wall and saying, hey, magazine, hey, agent, this is what I want to, this is my work. It's like, no, I'm going to go in and say, hey, this is a story I want to shoot for you. This is going to be the whole layout, the production. Here's the talent, the location, the stylist, the wardrobe, the hair, the makeup. And you don't even have to have it all lined up yet. You just conceptualize it. And if the magazine says, okay, then you can contact all those people and see if they want to be on board. I do this all the time. And this is one of my favorite ways of getting published is putting together a story. Here's another one that I really love, which is this is one from the magazine High Fashion Editorial on the streets of Milan. These images were mostly shot I believe in Morocco, but it gives you that kind of feel where it's got a little bit of vintage kind of vibes. And you've got these 3 models with these stunning scenes. Absolutely love this stories. And something like this is another example of a creative brief. So if you come in, and this is where the homework assignment leads, is to this process where you actually now have concepts that you can pitch to get these magazines to book you. These are the kind of things you can do with Michelle. And I would recommend doing that. And she can help you imagine and start to conceptualize what it is that you guys can create and what that magic looked like. So Michelle, you've given a lot of really good guidance. Do you have any other strategies that you think that can really help photographers with their mindset and with also achieving the kind of success of what they've always wanted to do as a photographer? I'd love to hear it.
One thing for sure is taking note of what's working and what's not working. Sometimes if we're just trying a whole bunch of things, but we're not actually looking at what's making a difference, what is moving the needle, right? What are we seeing progression with, and taking note of those things, because we might be doing something habitual over and over and over again and think it's moving the needle. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's kind of old school. Maybe we need a new tool we need to be adding in and utilizing it, because there's plenty out there, right? We know there's things like AI, there's a lot of things progressing, moving forward, and we get to keep up with the times to really make it happen. So I would say really taking a look at what's working and what is not working, and currently what you're doing, or maybe what you're not doing. It could be something that you get to add into a new strategy. It could be a new tool, something you get to add in that you haven't tried yet. So I would definitely say that. And then continuing to just, learn from experts like Kevin, right? We know success leaves clues. So the smartest people just say, copy the ones who've already done it. Copy the masters, right? Why would you go create something that you don't even know if it's going to work, right? Why not just copy someone who's given you the whole plan? So that's what I would say is success leaves clues, and you can't hit a target you don't have, right? So we've got to figure out where we're going so we can hit the target, create the game plan. You already have the master like you are right here to learn from the steps that already work. So the only missing piece is really you taking the action and having someone like me, a coach, to keep you accountable to make sure you're going to actually do it. Right? I'm not going to wake you up in the morning and be like, have you done X, Y, Z like we agreed on? But definitely having someone who's going to be in your corner, a partner, someone who's actually going to progress and move forward with you. Sometimes that can be the whole difference, feeling like you're part of a team. You have people moving forward with you. Success honestly can be lonely, I feel like, on your own. You're out there every day by yourself. There's no one really to celebrate with, maybe your spouse, maybe not. So have people to celebrate with you, like that's part of the most exciting part of this journey, in my opinion, when you're really seeing progression and you're changing and you're seeing new doors open up for you, new skill sets, like having someone to cheer with you, not just by yourself is, it's part of what makes life worth living, is having people in your corner, having a team, having a tribe. And I love that that's how we are here.
100%. We are a tribe. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because we do run into that. A lot of successful people and not so successful people that where they're not successful just yet, they tend to, grind away on their own. And oftentimes they don't, and many of you guys can relate, you might not have a wife or husband or partner that maybe even, supports everything you're doing. And you might take a lot of crap from people, or maybe they don't celebrate your successes. That happens all the time. And oftentimes it is a bit lonely, especially because we are all independent contractors and we're working from home. Most of us were, working remotely, and it's, we spend most of the time just quiet alone, going through images and kind of setting up shoots. So it is really helpful to have a coach. And, and out there, I mean, I still don't know of any other, anyone out there that's offering free, dedicated, one-on-one photographic momentum sessions that get it's in-depth, involved, and is adding as much value as what we're doing. And that's something that I'm really proud of that we can offer to guide our photographers. And if you guys want to take it up even the next level, obviously this is kind of a preview, this experience when you jump on with one of these coaches, of what it's like at the Photography University and what it's like with the Photography Workshop Series in person. But thank you so much, Michel, for joining us and all of your brilliant guidance. You are such an incredible and special human being, and I'm really excited for our photographers to get a chance, to get the opportunity to work with you.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Michel. Well, thank you guys so much. I know this has been a pretty in-depth webinar. It's been going on almost 2 hours, but the time has flown. We've had 4 amazing panelists. I'm so glad you guys got a chance to hear all of them. And also, especially for the great George Perez Reps, the top agent that has graced us with his presence and shown us the pathway to success, shooting celebrities, getting published, and to take yourself to the highest echelon of your potential. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm really, really excited to work with each and every one of you personally, and I can't wait to see you in person at the Photography Workshop Series or at our 30-day accelerator at Photographers University. Thanks, guys.